Good morning, everybody. Here we are in Oak Creek to listen to citizens from around the state telling us what they think about the governor's two-year budget. And so we're very anxious to be all ears. But to start off, my concern is we started off on the right track in the last 8 years. Wisconsin, in my opinion, I've been around a long time, has never been better off in terms of our revenues, growing the economy, our unemployment, our startup businesses, keeping companies. I mean, I've never seen Wisconsin on the right track like it is right now. And actually, the Marquette poll validated that. They said that 54% of the people think Wisconsin is on the right track. And what my concern is this budget gets Wisconsin off that right track. It has too much spending, $2 billion additional dollars. It talks about $1 billion of raising taxes. And I think you remember, as I do, Governor Evers said, I will not raise taxes. I think it was within a week or 2 days of the election. And here he is raising $1 billion in taxes. So I'm really concerned. I want Wisconsinites to know that a certainty that we're on the right track, that we're going to grow the economy. We are here for the taxpayer to protect them, and we are concerned about this budget. It gives a lot of good things out. If I were a lot of people around the state, I would say, yeah, it spends a lot of money that I like, but I'm concerned about the level of spending. And I'm Alberta Darling, John Nygren, and Jessie Rodriguez. John.
Well, good morning. So Jessie and I and a few of our colleagues actually just toured MATC, Oak Creek campus, learning a lot about the programs that are being delivered here in this region that are providing great paying jobs. And we have some concerns about Governor Evers' proposal, his budget proposal that doesn't necessarily deliver on the opportunities from a training standpoint. I would also say from a tax climate standpoint to continue to grow those jobs. So we believe that has to be a priority going forward. Senator Darling mentioned that how good things are currently. We want to make sure that we continue on that track. And the way it was explained to us, I mean, Jessie can talk more specifically about how it's actually impacting people here in her area. But the job opportunities, the pay is pretty impressive.
It is. So my district is heavy on manufacturing, and because of the collaboration with the high schools and the tech colleges, they've seen that collaboration. It's helped them a lot. It's a way to be able to train young individuals through youth apprenticeships to get them to the jobs that a lot of the businesses in our area say they need people for. And so we want to make sure in our area that our businesses have the resources they need, and that collaboration with the tech colleges is important to them.
The number one issue right now in Wisconsin is the job shortage. And so I think we're emphasizing that today. We're very concerned that the budget does not invest enough in job creation and skill development, and that's our biggest issue, the workforce development.
With that, I guess we'll take some questions.
So a lot of people are here obviously for, as you see, Badger Care expansion, and I wanted to know your guys' thoughts on that and the presence here.
Well, we certainly are very interested in listening because we're learning a lot. That was a big issue in the last public hearing, so we are very interested to listen to the people and how it would affect their lives. Actually, there was a new ruling for Utah. Utah's expansion was given several waivers, which are significantly different from other waivers around the country, and I think that is worth looking at. I'm not committing to that at all. I think we need to look at what Utah accomplished. But I think right now the legislature is very concerned about disrupting the marketplace in terms of the free marketplace with healthcare, because we have one of the best systems in the country. We're very concerned that if the federal government decides not to fund the expansion anymore, we're going to get stuck with a huge bill that we really don't have the money for.
The governor has branded his budget the people's budget. He says he held listening sessions and his budget was crafted based on what he heard. There are a number of issues in the budget that are party line issues. As you from your party, the GOP, what is the threshold The governor has said he thinks you're going to hear exactly what he heard. What is your threshold to maybe change your mind on how the party feels about issues like Medicaid, marijuana, other things?
Well, the governor calls it the people's budget, and when I talk to people around the state, the people are saying we are on the right track. We want to stay on that track. We don't want to increase taxes. We want to have spending within our means. Like they sit down at their kitchen table, they want the government, the state, to do the same thing, to live within our means. And this budget does not live within our means.
There's no doubt that there's a lot of Democrat wish lists in this budget. I mean, there's no doubt. So, I mean, I think that the senator and I will have a conversation, and as we continue on here, there's a number of policy items that will not be considered in this budget just based on the fact that they're pure policy. I mean, the governor and Democrats have an opportunity, obviously, to move those through as a separate piece of the legislation. But I think there could be a pretty long list of policy-related issues that will not be considered just based on this. We did the same thing last time with under Governor Walker's proposal. I think we removed every piece of policy in the last proposal. We'll look at doing that again.
And I must say, we are very open to working with the governor. I think there was an article yesterday that said that we have this resistance. That is not true. I think all of us have put calls into the governor saying we need to work together.
How do you feel about the turnout?
Looks good to me. I haven't been able to check it out in the last couple of minutes, but I'm really glad. We need a big turnout.
It looks very Democratic turnout there. I see lots of shirts and stuff representing other groups.
Oftentimes, when we help hold public hearings, there's a lot of interest groups that do a good job getting their people out. AARP, per education groups. There's no doubt that's a predominance of what we see and we hear. But the person that's just coming here, getting off their, maybe taking some time away from work to be here today. I mean, those people have to be just as important to us as any special interest group that might be, presenting to them.
Is there a certain topic you are hoping to get a little bit more of like a personal impact from a citizen here?
We're always interested in the personal stories because as I've been on this budget committee for a long time, I know with autism, for instance, we had two different children get up at two different public hearings, and it really influenced the finance committee as to how important that investment is. So I think putting a real person and talking about their experience really makes a difference.
Yeah, I would say that I've been doing this. This is my fourth budget. That every single time there's an issue that we think we kind of understand going in what we think the issues are going to be, but there's typically one that kind of raises our awareness that we weren't necessarily focusing on prior to the budget. So that's where these opportunities are important. So.
Last hearing, I think the vaping issue really was well represented by a lot of different high school students, and so that really gets our interest when students are so passionate about an issue, and I think it's so important that they take the time to come here and tell us. That's impressive.
So this matters. It's not just standard practice.
No, it matters.
I mean, it's standard policy, but it does matter, definitely. We listen.
We're going to wrap it up. Thank you. It's going to start. If you guys need anything else, let me know.
Just in terms of the Badger Care, hospitals have requested, last Friday when you were in Janesville, the hospitals asked for a similar magnitude increase, and they also said something about that it doesn't necessarily have to come from Medicaid expansion. They think that there's other ways in the Medicaid program. Do you support that magnitude increase, and are you looking for ways to provide?
One of the concerns with Medicaid expansion is the fact that we'd be taking about 40,000 people off of private insurance, which reimburses at a private rate, and putting it on Medicaid that actually reimburses at less than cost. So yes, that is a concern for us. I think there's ways to address the reimbursement rates without expanding Medicaid.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
John.
And I am a Democrat from Madison, ranking member on the Joint Finance Committee.
Good morning, Representative Evan Goyke from Milwaukee. So Senator Darling started her comments off by saying we're better off, and I think what she meant was that over the last 8 years, the better off are better off. This is a budget that reinvests in people, and despite what Representative Nygren might think, that the folks in the room today waiting to testify are not special interests. They are just constituents and normal Wisconsinites. And I want to say thank you to 58 for asking the question about Medicaid. Not only does this expand access to 82,000 Wisconsinites, but it leverages $1.6 billion that are then reinvested in Wisconsin's healthcare systems. So to all of the viewers or to the folks that may read your stories that are not on Medicaid, they still will directly benefit. Wisconsinites will directly benefit from the Medicaid expansion. Whether or not you're on Medicaid, Wisconsinites will benefit from the Medicaid expansion, and it is the cornerstone of this healthcare budget.
And that's $1.6 billion of new federal monies into our state to expand healthcare to everybody. The other issue we're going to hear a lot about is public education, K through 12. We're still not at 2011 levels for funding when you look at inflation. If our schools even got inflationary increases over the last 8 years, they'd have $225 million more. So this is a budget that finally invests in K through 12 public education, including special ed. You're going to hear a lot about our schools' special ed needs. They are not being reimbursed appropriately. They're at about 25%. Private unaccountable voucher schools are at 90% reimbursement for special ed. This is something people want. The governor included robust increases because that's what people want. And on the tech schools, finally we have a governor that increases tech school funding. Republicans cut tech schools by $70 million. They restored $5 million. So this is finally a governor that's going to invest in the kids of our state and address those workforce issues, because we want our technical schools to have the resources to make sure our students, our kids are trained so they can get those good jobs. So we look forward to this hearing. We're excited you're here. We're excited to see this incredible turnout. Thank you very much.
And talk about that turnout out there. It is very pro you guys. Why do you think that happened?
Well, look, the Republicans set the location. They did not ask us where to go. And usually they pick the location where they think their constituents and their interest groups are going to turn out. But I think what it shows is the passion that the people have for the issue of Medicaid expansion. We want to be expanding access to health care. Why would we spend more state dollars and cover less people? That's what's happening right now. People are very, very passionate about this. It doesn't matter where you go. All corners of the state. All corners of the state very passionate about K through 12 funding. That's why people are going to referendum in their school districts. And they're passing these referendums because they are very upset their schools haven't been funded. They're raising their own property taxes to do so. People are very passionate. You're going to hear a lot about that today.
What do you think that the joint fight, what do you want them to hear? Because they did say things, when people say their stories matter, it can sway their opinion. What do you want or hope that they will hear?
Well, I hope they hear this incredible need from our K-12 schools. I have 2 kids in K-12 public schools. I know the need because I see it every single day. I hope they're listening to the people who come and talk about what a struggle it's been over the last 8 years to retain teachers, to keep the lights on. I mean, a lot of these referendum are not for capital budgets. They're for keeping the lights on and the yearly resources that our schools need. I hope they listen to the stories that they hear today. If so, there's no way that they can walk away and say we don't need this money for our K-12 schools, and we shouldn't expand access to Medicaid. You'll hear those stories today. We heard them in the last budget hearing. We weren't surprised to hear them. This is the people's budget. Thank you so much.
Thank you.